Well, it is officially official. Odell Beckham Jr. is being released and will be subject to waivers. Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien with Cincinnati Bengals talking allbengals.com. And I got to be honest, as you can tell by my attire, just finished a workout on this Friday morning. Didn't even get to eat my Built Bar yet, but I had to jump on Cincinnati Bengals talk and give you my thoughts on the Browns waiving, releasing, whatever you want to call it, Odell Beckham Jr., the Pro Bowler, the Offensive Rookie of the Year of 2014, and the 29-year-old, because Odell Beckham Jr. just turned 29 today. And so happy birthday, Odell. You're out of Cleveland and you get to go elsewhere. Look, I want to talk about potential destinations. And the interesting thing about this Odell thing is that the Bengals are one of 9 teams that have cap space or had enough cap space to absorb a contract like Odell Beckham Jr.'s, which was just over $8 million for the rest of the season. But what Odell and the Browns agreed to was a restructure of his deal where it turns most of that money into signing bonus money and lowers his deal in his base salary down to basically a veteran minimum contract. So a team that claims him will have Odell for the veteran minimum for the rest of the year. The Browns did this because they didn't want to be on hook for the money for Odell and just completely, let him go and have to pay him despite him playing for another team. So it's smart in a way. It saves them probably about $1 million. Nothing crazy, but it saves them a little money as he goes out the door. And I want to say this, and I'm going to be very, very clear here. And there's going to be some of you that don't like it, and that's fine. That's why we all have an opinion. We all have takes and thoughts. And this may sound like an outlandish take, but I don't think it is. At veteran minimum, nearly every team in the NFL should be interested in Odell Beckham Jr. Virtually every team. And if I'm Odell's agent, obviously you don't want to go to Detroit, a wide receiver needy team that doesn't have a win. But it's from a team like Detroit to a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and everyone in between, the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, all of these teams should be interested. But this is Cincinnati Bengals talk. So let me just discuss the possibility for 30 seconds. And then go into why, I don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think it's going to happen. But at league minimum, absolutely the Bengals should be interested. And, there's going to be a lot of people that talk about, oh, well, Odell's a cancer. Well, I've heard from multiple people this week last week and into this week, Zach Taylor last week, this week it was T. Higgins. Before the trade deadline, the Bengals were confident that they could absorb in anybody and still have that same culture. And I think, why they can do that? Because of who's at the quarterback. Joe Burrow, the guy that Odell Beckham Jr. was googly about when Burrow led LSU to a 15-0 record in a national championship, and they were celebrating in the locker room after they blew out Clemson. Look, is Odell best friends with Burrow? Wouldn't say that, and I know that's not the case. He's not best friends with Jamar Chase, even though the two have talked. But to me, you at least have a discussion. Now, I don't think the Bengals are going to do it, but who are you going to guard? Well, that would give the Bengals such an edge over every other team in the league. They would have 4 premier receivers that you could do so much with. And yeah, would Beckham be limited compared to, his role, with the Giants in his prime? Sure. But he's on a league minimum deal, and he's someone that really has to reestablish his value. So this idea that Beckham's going to go to this next place and be a cancer, I don't think that's the case, especially if they have a strong locker room and a strong quarterback. So other teams I think are going to be interested. Tampa Bay, for sure. I think the Los Angeles Rams, for sure. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, for sure. The Chiefs need another receiver. People think that they have all the weapons in the world. They're really scratching and clawing for someone. I think the Raiders will be interested. The Seattle Seahawks will probably kick the tires. So there are a lot of teams that I could see. New England is another team that I could see making a run at Odell Beckham Jr., because this could very much be a Randy Moss and Oakland situation. I was in Cleveland when Beckham was traded for there, and it felt like, and I'll give you a Bengals reference, it felt like when the Bengals signed Terrell Owens before the 2010 season, when training camp was about to kick off. That excitement that was around the city? It was like, wow, they're going to really have a shot. And here's the difference. It would have been like if the Bengals signed Terrell Owens in his prime after the 2004 season going into the 2005 season. Like, it was that type of boom around the Browns because of the star power that he brings. And look, Baker Mayfield isn't as good as the Browns thought he would be. And I thought Baker was going to be really, really good. I think he is good. And my prediction's coming out later today here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I might pick the Browns to beat the Bengals, and Baker Mayfield would be a reason why. But Steve Smith called out Baker and said, well, yeah, you're not that good. And that's why Odell wants out. And I think that's true. I think Odell would be happy catching passes from Joe Burrow or Tom Brady or Matt Stafford or Kyler Murray. That's another option, by the way. I wouldn't be shocked if the Arizona Cardinals or Derek Carr or Russell Wilson or. So is he a little needy? Absolutely. Do I understand why the Bengals won't bring him in because they don't want him around Jamar Chase? They don't want him around T. Higgins. Understand that. But much like Deshaun Jackson, but to a much, much greater level because of how good he is, at a league minimum deal, it's a no-brainer. And checking my phone here to make sure that there's no more news as we record this. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. I really do for a lot of these teams. So we'll see. The good news, the Bengals, they don't have to deal with Odell Beckham Jr. And for those that think he's washed up, I asked Chidobe Awuzie about Beckham, and here's what he had to say on Thursday when I asked him about the 29-year-old star wideout.
Odell, is a great player in this league, been a great player in this league for years, and coming off an injury, he still looks like he has that same explosiveness. Obviously not getting the same amount of targets, who knows why, but yeah, I definitely see the athletic ability and the talent still there.
So he's still there.
Yeah.
Awuzie faced him when he was with the Dallas Cowboys and Beckham was in New York with the Giants. He would have faced him on Sunday. Look, I'm not saying the Bengals should make a run at him, but I'm not saying they shouldn't. At league minimum, given what he could bring to this offense, given how I think Joe Burrow would keep him in line for the rest of the season, not a bad rental. Not a bad rental at all. Again, that doesn't mean some of us have significant others that we know we're not going to marry, right? Yeah, that's part of it. That's what Odell Beckham Jr. could be to the Bengals or to the Baltimore Ravens. Didn't throw them out there till just now. Or to insert whatever team you think he could fit on. I think he could fit on a lot of teams with good quarterbacks. Do they have MVP caliber quarterbacks or high-end quarterbacks? Because if the answer is yes, odds are I'm going to say, yeah, I could work there. And the Bengals are one of those teams, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think that there's going to be a bunch of teams that have conversations that discuss it because, again, league minimum, it matters. Either way, win, lose, draw, we're going to have you covered here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk this Sunday. I will be at First Energy Stadium, I'll be at Paul Brown Stadium, First Energy Stadium I'll be at in January when it's Bengals Browns Part 2. But I'll be at Paul Brown Stadium. I'm used to being on the road so much, 3 straight road games. We haven't been at Paul Brown Stadium for a game, an actual game, not just practice, a game in months, in just over a month. So, yeah, either way, I'll be at Paul Brown Stadium. My prediction's coming later on Friday afternoon. So if you're watching it after that, the prediction's already up, and you should check that out. So Odell Beckham Jr. subject to waivers, and the Bengals have used 2 waiver claims this year on cornerbacks. Trey Flowers, and yesterday, on Thursday, they used one on another cornerback, a guy in Vernon Hargraves III, who I think is going to contribute. So I'll have more thoughts on him as well on this channel. So keep it locked right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'm James Rapien. I'll talk to you soon.